Imagine you find your dream home. It's got the layout you want, killer backyard, and in the perfect neighborhood. You make an offer, it's accepted, you're on cloud nine. But then the inspection report lands and it reveals a $50,000 secret of hidden structural damage. This isn't a hypothetical. This is exactly what happened to a couple of first time home buyers I recently worked with. They were about to walk away, ready to lose their inspection money and their dream home. But the house was listed as is, and that single detail opened the door to a specific strategy, one that not only saved the deal, but got them a price they never imagined. I'm going to show you exactly how they did it so you can turn a potential financial nightmare into the deal of a lifetime. Meet Sarah and Tom. Like a lot of first time buyers, they'd been saving for years, glued to their phones, checking listings, and hitting open houses every weekend. They were so over renting and ready to finally own. After months of searching, they found it. A charming older home with tons of character. Sure, it needed some cosmetic love, but the bones seemed good. The listing had a note that makes a lot of buyers nervous. Sold as is. Sarah and Tom talked it over and figured it just meant the seller wasn't going to spring for new kitchen countertops or paint the lime green bathroom. To them, it seemed like a fair trade off for a price slightly below other homes in the area. They put in an offer feeling great. The seller, an heir living out of state, who just wanted a quick sale, accepted it right away. Sarah and Tom were ecstatic. Their financing was pre approved. They had budgeted for new paint and flooring, and they were already mentally arranging furniture. They were just weeks from getting the keys. The only thing left was the home inspection, which they figured was just a formality. They had no idea what was coming. The inspection started off fine. The inspector pointed out minor things on the main floor, a loose fixture, an old appliance, but when he went down to the basement, when he came back up, covered with some cobwebs and a grim look on his face, the whole mood shifted. He showed them photos of massive cracks in the foundation. Not little settling cracks, but serious structural fractures. Then, in the attic, he found evidence of an old, persistent roof leak with water damage and mold starting to grow. To top it off, the electrical panel was an outdated fire hazard. The inspector didn't mince words. We're not talking about cosmetic stuff anymore. He told them, you're looking at major structural, roofing, and electrical work. These are safety issues, and they're not minor. Sarah and Tom were gutted. Their dream was caving in. Their budget for new floors was a joke compared to this. Panicked calls from family started just pouring in, telling them, walk away, it's a money pit. They felt foolish and defeated. That as is phrase now felt like less of a note and more like a giant warning sign they'd completely ignored. They were ready to pull the plug, lose the money they already sunk into the home inspector and appraisal, and start the whole exhausting search over from scratch. This is when my phone rang. It was Sarah and Tom in a total panic. And this is where everything turned. Take a deep breath, I told them. That as is clause doesn't mean you have to accept this. It just changes the game. Here's the secret most buyers misunderstand. As is does not mean you can't negotiate. It signals the seller has zero interest in playing contractor and managing repairs themselves. This is especially common when someone inherits a property or sellers who need a fast, simple sale. But the real power here doesn't come from the as is clause itself. It comes from your inspection contingency. That contingency is your right to investigate the property, and if the findings are unacceptable, you can walk away without penalty. You get your earnest money back, and the deal's canceled. This shifts the entire negotiation. Instead of asking for repairs, your strongest move is to negotiate on the one thing the seller is there to discuss, the price. But foundation issues and bad wiring are just scary, vague phrases. To negotiate like a pro, we had to get rid of the fear and replace it with cold, hard data. Here was our game plan. First, we used their inspection contingency to extend our timeline. Second, I told them to get multiple detailed quotes from licensed pros, a structural engineer, a roofer, and an electrician. This is the most critical step. You can't negotiate with an inspector's hunch. You need written estimates. A week later, we had our ammunition. The foundation repair itself, $28,000. The new roof, $15,000. The electrical overhaul, another $12,000. A grand total of $55,000 in non-negotiable safety-related work. Suddenly, this wasn't a scary money pit anymore. It was a house that needed exactly $55,000 of work to be safe and sound. We had just defined the property's true as-is value in the market. The value of a home and its current physical condition. We now had documented proof that the home's condition was far worse than what the original price reflected. Armed with a stack of professional quotes, we went back to the seller's agent. But we didn't go in angry. Our approach was professional and data-driven. Here's basically what we said, and it's a script you can adapt. We've completed our professional inspections, and as you'll see from the attached quotes, the property needs immediate work totaling $55,000. We still love the home, but our offer was based on the assumption that it was structurally sound. Since the property is being sold as is and your client isn't in a position to manage repairs, we'd like to submit a revised offer that reflects the home's true as-is condition. See what we did there? We weren't asking the seller to fix a single thing. We were giving them indisputable third-party data that justified a price reduction. We were helping them see the real value of what they were selling. The seller just wanted a hassle-free sale. Now he had a choice. He could refuse, put the house back on the market, and in most states be legally required to disclose all these newly discovered issues to the next buyer. That new buyer would just do their own inspection, find the same problems, and the whole cycle would start all over again. Or he could negotiate with us, a buyer who was pre-approved, ready to close, and still wanted the house, just at a fair price. He chose to negotiate, and we didn't just get a $55,000 price drop. he agreed on $65,000 reduction. That covered the repairs and gave Sarah and Tom an extra $10,000 for the hassle and risk of managing the project themselves. So Sarah and Tom went from the edge of a financial disaster to buying their dream home with instant equity. They got to oversee the repairs themselves, picking their own contractors and making sure that the repairs were done correctly. So their story boils down to 3 critical steps for any buyer looking at an as-is property. 1, always get a comprehensive inspection. As-is the very reason you must do it. You should really do it on any property. 2, quantify every problem. Turn vague issues into specific dollar amounts with professional quotes. 3, renegotiate the price, not the repairs. Use your data to justify a new offer that reflects the home's actual condition. You're better off doing it that way and picking your own people. If you're finding this useful and want more strategies to become a smarter home buyer, do me a quick favor, hit the subscribe button. It's free and you won't want to miss my next video where I break down how to use an appraisal report to find hidden negotiation leverage. Now, there's one more hurdle you still have to clear, the appraisal. Even if you and the seller agree on a new price, the bank's appraiser has to sign off. A lender will only give you a loan based on the home's appraised as-is value. If an appraiser decides the home is worth less than your new price because of the needed repairs, it can create an appraisal gap. That could jeopardize your financing. This is why a negotiation backed by hard data is so important. It helps get your purchase price in line with the reality an appraiser will also see. And remember, in most U.S. jurisdictions, an as-is sale is not a license for the seller to hide major problems they already know about. If you discover a seller knowingly concealed a major defect, you likely have legal protections. An as-is property isn't something to fear. It's an opportunity, it's an open invitation to do your homework and negotiate like a pro. Sarah and Tom's story had a happy ending. Not because they got lucky, but because they got informed. They went from emotional, overwhelmed buyers to savvy investors in their own future. They understood that knowledge is power and that the true as-is value is the ultimate leverage. Okay, to make sure you're ready for your own negotiation, I put together a free 1-page PDF, the as-is negotiation checklist. It walks you through the exact steps we covered today. The link is right at the top of the description below. Download it, use it, and you could save yourself tens of thousands of dollars. Thanks so much for watching. Be smart, be prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.